Hello, my name is Mary Bilo, and I'm one of the librarians here at the Hedberg Public Library. Today I'm going to talk about staying safe online. Before I do that, I want to give a disclaimer. I'm not an IT person. I don't know all the high-tech whiz-bang stuff. What I do know are a number of things that I can do to keep my computer safe and myself safe. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. We'll talk about basic computer defenses that anyone can do to keep their own computer and equipment safe. And we'll talk about the tricks that con artists play to get past your defenses and how to spot and stop those tricks so you can protect yourself. So think of your computer like the city of Troy. The Trojans used technology to hold off the Greeks for 10 years. They had good tech. 10 years is a long time. Greeks couldn't get past those walls, those gates, whatever else they had. The Greeks finally figured out how to use a trick, what today we would call social engineering. And they built a wooden horse, and they hid a couple of their guys inside it. They left it outside the gates of Troy and disappeared. And the Trojans, well, they were curious, they were hopeful that the war was over, and they decided, well, let's see what's going on. And they wheeled this horse inside, and the guys jumped out, and that was the end of Troy. So any computer social engineering, actually any social engineering, whether it's face-to-face, over the phone, on the computer, wherever, is trying to use psychological manipulation to create a behavior change. And there's a lot of social engineering on the internet. We need to outwit those con artists, and to do that, we need to know what they want and what their games are. So starting out, what do the bad actors want? Well, the first thing they want your money. And that's really the biggest thing. They want your money. And they do want your identity, but in the end, what they're going to do with your identity is use your identity to either steal your money or to take out credit in your name and steal someone else's money. They also want your data, because if they have your data, then they can figure out how to manipulate you so they can persuade you to hand over your money or your personal information so they can get your money. They also want your friends so they can get their money and their data and their credit and everything else. And they want your computer. So if they have your computer, some con artists, what they do is they will carve out a little space on your hard drive and use that at your computer as processing power, so they can send their scams out all across the internet to people you don't even know to get their money and their identity and their friends and their computers, and the cycle goes on and on. So when we talk about your information and your identity, what are we talking about? We're talking about information that is used to uniquely identify a specific individual, in this case me, and that information is something where they can convince someone else that they are me or that they are you. Things like my full name, social security number, driver's license number, passport, date and place of birth, email address and cell phone numbers. They may seem harmless on their own, but if someone uses my email address or my cell phone to contact one of my friends, they may think it's me. So those are all personally identifiable information. And this information can be used to access financial accounts, lines of credit, and your contacts. Personally identifiable data, on the other hand, is information that by itself no one can use to really impersonate you. But in combination, it can be used to create a psychological profile of you, and that psychological profile can be used to manipulate you. So that information would be things like where you live, your zip code, your address history, where you've worked, where you went to school, Medical information. Do you have any medical conditions? Financial and insurance information. Your personal interests. What are your hobbies? Political beliefs. What kind of things do you like to buy? And of course, that race and gender. And this information, when it's either used alone or in combination with other data, can target an individual with advertisements, scams, and propaganda. So propaganda is where they're trying to persuade you to believe the way they want you to believe. So none of this is really anything I want. So I want to create my computer fortress. I want to create my own city of Troy on my computer where I am well protected. And as I said, I don't know a whole lot of tech, so I'm going to start with the basics. So the first basic is a wall. So with Troy, it was a physical wall. With on a computer, it's a firewall. And a firewall is a computer program that monitors traffic coming in and out of your computer over networks to protect against the bad stuff. So firewalls are good if they're turned on. So in order to turn on your firewall, you want to look for your settings. It's a little icon that looks like a gear. Search for your firewall and check to make sure it's turned on. The second thing I want to do to protect my Fortress computer and to make it a fortress is update all my software. And there's a lot of software on my computer. There's the operating system, there's the office programs, there's who knows what. I don't even know all the stuff that I want. So I want to make sure that that software is updated on a regular basis because software is only as good as its programmer. And the bad guys, they look at those software programs and they're looking for holes. They're looking for places where the programmer made a mistake, where there's a gap in the program where they can squeeze their own program in. And once they find that, they kind of blast out everyone who has that particular software, and then they've downloaded some nasty stuff on their computers. So what the software updates do are they are patching those holes. The software engineers know that they are not perfect. They'd never get it right the first time. And even if they did, software gets better and better, the bad guys get better and better, and they keep hunting and they find more and more holes. So I want to make sure that my software is always updated. That means that I want my settings, my software settings in my settings, that my computer settings, that icon that looks like a gear. I want that to set that my software updates update automatically. I don't want to have to keep track of every little hole that's out there and make sure I run out and get the right patch in time. Another part of my Fortress computer is antivirus software. So there are viruses out there. They are named, computer viruses are named after the viruses in our body. And what the viruses are trying to do is they are trying to infect the system. And an antivirus program is like giving your computer antibodies. So these are all major computer antivirus programs that I have up on the screen here. And if you have one of them, you have them installed and you run your antivirus program regularly, then they are providing basically antibodies to protect your computer. So having antivirus software is good. Having more than one's probably not good because they interfere with each other. Pick one and go with it. Another part of my fortress is passwords. I don't want to just let anyone onto my computer. So that's what a password is for, is to keep the computer just to me. So I want to use them. I know they're a pain. I hate them, particularly accounts that I don't use very often. I forget what they are. They're important to have. They are part of your fortress. You want to make them long. at least 11 characters, maybe even 15. There are two theories of password strength. One theory is the word string, where you're taking 3 or 4 or 5 words and just stringing them together and throwing in some numbers along the way. Another theory is completely random. So open up a Word document, letting your fingers hit the keys until you get enough letters, and then looking and seeing what you've got, and that's your password. Making sure that there's letters, there's numbers, capitals, those funny little symbols. Either one are considered to be a strong password as long as it's long. Change only when compromised. There was a theory early on that you changed your passwords pretty regularly, like once every 6 months, once every 3 months, so they didn't, if they got compromised, you were changing them. What the research has found is technologically that makes sense, but from the point of view of the human brain, if you have to keep changing your password, you're going to make them too easy, and the computers can crack them too quickly. So the current recommendation is to make them really long, really complicated, memorize them, and don't change them unless you have a problem. The other thing that they always used to say is don't write them down. The human brain cannot remember complicated passwords. So it is okay to write them down as long as you do not post them right next to your computer, and not in a document in your computer either. So you want to write them down and put them in a safe place, so if you do forget, you can go back and look them up. The other thing you may want to consider is what's called two-step authentication. You've probably seen this once in a while, where you are going to log on, and whatever program it is, it's asking you to go to your phone or to your other email or whatever it is that you use to sign up for that account, and they sent a special code to that account, that email, that phone, that text, and you need to go to that second device and get that code and type it in. So you're actually taking 2 steps to get into that program that is considered the most secure, because you have to have access to both programs to get it to work. So those are how I can build my fortress computer, my computer fortress. My computer fortress is only as good as my ability to keep it strong and to not let in any Trojan horses. So there are a lot of tricks of the trade that the con artists use to try and trick me into letting them in. So the biggest one, well, they're all big, but one is imposters. So I'm looking at 2 different websites here. They actually both say they're ABC News. These clips of these screenshots were taken the same afternoon, actually the same hour. One was clipped, turned around, clipped the other one. They were up at the same time, both claiming to be ABC News. As you can see, they're not the same. One of them is an imposter. So how do I find the imposters? Well, I want to read what's known as the URL, or Uniform Resource Locator, otherwise known as the address. All that HTTP stuff up in the address bar that is lots of letters and numbers and a lot of people ignore. It's actually really important. So when I'm looking at that address up in the bar, I've got a couple examples here. It starts out with either HTTP or HTTPS. Sometimes it does leave this part off, but if it's there, that's the program protocol. HTTP is HTML. HTTPS is a more secure form of HTML that it gives you a little more protection. So then it gives that : // and then after that / up to that next slash, that is my domain name. That is whoever my host is. So in this first email address, it says hedbergpubliclibrary.org. So I know by looking at this web address that that is an address on hosted by hedbergpubliclibrary.org. And I know, oh, okay, I know that library. Actually, I work at that library. So I'm good to go to that page. So the second web address is another library. It's wpl.winnipeg.ca. So that is the Winnipeg Public Library. I look and I go, okay, it's a library, it's Winnipeg, it's a good address, I trust it. But if you notice on the end of the Hedberg Public Library, it has a .org. At the end of Winnipeg, it has a .ca. So that's what's called either a web extension or a country identifier. If the website is registered in the United States, it has a 3-letter web extension. .gov, .edu, .mil, .com, .org, any of those. Those indicate it's registered in the United States. And there are specific rules for them. .gov, you have to be a government agency from the United States. If you aren't, you don't get a .gov. .edu, you have to be an educational institution, K-12 or higher ed. Not that, you don't get a .edu. .mil, you got to be the military. Nobody else gets those. .com are commercial sites. .org were traditionally nonprofits. The company that gave out the .org domain extensions, though, they have been sold. So we don't really know in the future what holds for the meaning of .org. So those are American web extension. There's more, but they're usually 3 letters. If it's a 2-letter extension, it's a country code from some country other than the United States. In this case, .ca, Canada, .au, Australia, NZ, New Zealand, UK, United Kingdom, .ru is Russia. The list goes on and on and on. So if you see a 2-letter code and you're wondering where it's from, just pop it into Google and it'll come up with the country code. After that, after you have your host name, all that stuff after that's just where it is on the web page. So on the website. So once, so that local authors, hedbergpubliclibrary.org local authors, it's a certain part on the web page that has a page for local Rock County authors. And by the way, it says .pdf that tells me it's in a file extension .pdf. So that's how do I read a URL. And I can use that knowledge to spot the fakes. So abcnews.com versus abcnews.com.co. So what is that .co doing at the end? It's a 2-letter country code. So where is it coming from? It's not the real thing. Whitehouse.gov versus whitehouse.com. Whitehouse.gov is the legitimate website for the White House, whereas whitehouse.com is a commercial site. Actually, when the internet was young, someone bought it and thought it was quite amusing and set it up as a porn site. So people would type in White House, hit whitehouse.com, and not get exactly what they expected. And someone at the other end was going, oh, ha, ha, ha. So some of the impersonators are a little more serious, like this next one. So HBSC is a bank out of the United Kingdom, and it has letters, so it's really hard for the eye to see. And if someone switches those letters around, like HSBC, it's hard to catch it. But HSBC is a fake. It's someone who is trying to get people to log on to their site as if it was their bank, and so they can steal their banking information. Not good. The next one is another common fake URL. Yahoo.com is good if Yahoo has 2 O's, but if it has 3 O's, no, it's not good. It is an imposter. Another common tool for imposter websites is it can be hard to see the difference in common fonts on the internet between an M and an RN. So this next one, it's modem.com versus modern.com. They look the same to human eyes. The computer sees them really differently. So, and this last one, help.yahoo.com is good. Customer-support-number.com, even though it says Yahoo support after that, it's not Yahoo. It is a website. It is a call center with people who are very nice and very insistent and say, oh, you lost your Yahoo password or whatever it is you're calling about? Well, let me download some little program onto your computer and we'll see if we can recover it. One, they can't recover it. Two, you do not want them to download a program on your computer. And three, they're usually charging you $50 for the privilege. So I do not want to go to customersupport.com, and I spot that it's a bad place to go because I'm looking for Yahoo, and Yahoo is not in my host name. So if they spell out the URL, I can see it. What happens when they don't? So a lot of times they just give you a link with words, like we have this example here, Hedberg Public Library. It's blue, it's underlined, it's a link. Great, but does it really go where I want it to go? I want to check that before I click. So how I do that, if I'm on a desktop, I take my mouse and I mouse over the link, and it comes up with a little box that says, on the one on the left at least, that says hedbergpubliclibrary.org. Control the click to follow the link. On the right, it says Amazon.com, control and click to follow the link. So even though both links have the words Hedberg Public Library, they're going to two different places. So you can't always trust the words. You want to mouse over and see where the link is going to take you. Now, I mentioned that this is what you mouse over and hover on a desktop. If you are on a mobile device, what you would do is press and hold. Don't just tap, actually hold it, and then the URL comes up. Another place where you want to check your URL is in this little padlock, otherwise known as a security certificate. So the padlock is right in front of the URL on your web browser, and the padlock or the security certificate means that the website owner has purchased a certificate saying that the traffic to and from this website is encrypted. Now, encryption actually is good. Encryption software converts all the information that you are sending over the internet from a readable state to apparent nonsense. So I am sending my credit card number off to Amazon, and anyone who's trying to spy on my web traffic is just seeing gobbledygook. Because Amazon has encrypted it, and then they have the key to unencrypt it on their end. It can only be read with a proper decoder, and so that prevents unauthorized access. So you do want to check those certificates, you do want to check that padlock, but don't just look at the padlock and say, oh, it has padlock, good. Mouse over, take a look. The padlock actually gives the website identification. You do want to make sure it's a certificate for the website you think it is. This case, they match. Amazon.com on the certificate, Amazon.com in the address bar. That's good. I'm okay to go. So we've had some practice with URLs and how to spot good ones and bad ones and how to hover and take a look at links. So this is an email that came into my work email. And it says, new apps have access to your data. Well, I'm thinking, oh, that's not good. I want to protect my data. So I have a little bit of fear there. And it says Gmail, Android, connected to Microsoft account, mbelo.hedbergpubliclibrary.org, which is my work email. And if you didn't grant access, then please remove the app from your account. So I'm also a little curious. I'm going, which app is this that has access to my account? So I'm fearful, I'm curious, and then there's this nice blue button with a link that says manage my apps. And now I'm like, I'm hopeful, I can fix this. Before I click on that link, I want to mouse over that link and take a look at it. So I mouse over and go, oh, I thought this was Microsoft. It says Microsoft account at the top, doesn't it? The link does not say Microsoft. It says, it's a really long one that starts with secure links, Bloomlight, and it goes on and on and on. I don't know if that's really a good idea. So I don't click, and I look a little bit further through this email, and I see some other red flags. I see the email address it's from. It does say Microsoft account team. It's no reply at data-microsoft.com. And I go, that's not Microsoft's address. Microsoft's address is Microsoft, no data dash. So that's sort of a problem. And then I start thinking, Gmail, Android connected to the Microsoft account, mbelo. My account isn't a Microsoft account. It's a library account. So I'm getting multiple clues here that this email is what's known as phishing with a PH. They have sent this random email out to a whole bunch of people and fill in the blank with whatever the email address they're sending it to, and they're trying to get people to click on that link. And if I click on that link, I might not see anything bad happen right away, but I will be downloading probably something I don't want on my computer. So I do not want to click on that link. So that is an example of social engineering. So in social engineering, it's trying to trigger your emotions. It's trying to trigger really strong emotions like fear, curiosity, anger, and hope. And it's giving me a very short time frame to act. Oh, I got to do this now, or I'm going to lose access to my data. Someone else will get my data. I need to do this now because they're saying my Netflix account's going to get cut off. I need to do this now because some other bad consequence or some other good thing I might miss out. This Nigerian prince who's trying to contact me, he's really rich and he just needs a few $100s. And if I don't act now, I'm going to lose out on this friendship with this really rich guy. So urgency all over the place is a real red flag for social engineering. So a telephone equivalent is when you get those robocalls, law enforcement is on its way. No, they're not. They wouldn't be calling you to tell you they're on their way and pay a ransom if to get them not to come. That's not real. So anything that's triggering that fear, curiosity, anger, and hope, any one of those combination, and putting a lot of urgency on top of it, that's something where you want to slow down. Actually come to a full stop, take a deep breath, and take a look around. Check the hyperlinks. Make sure that the name and the hyperlink match. Look for misspellings. Hyperlinks in a blank email, you just get an email, there's nothing but a hyperlink, that's bad news. Never click on those, just delete it and move on. You also want to check who it's from. If the sender's email is sent from a suspicious domain, it's not my bank, it looks similar to my bank, but not my bank, I don't want to move on. I don't want to move any further on this. If I don't know the sender personally, I don't have any kind of business relationship with them, I don't have any personal relationship, There's no reason for me to go further with this email. I have, if it is someone I know, but it's completely out of character. So my very formal coworker is sending me this link and saying, oh, you got to check this out. It's so funny. And there's this picture of a guy in a grass skirt. It's out of character. Before I click, I'm going to check with her and make sure it's legit. I also want to slow down and take a look who it's to. Now, I do know it's to me, otherwise it wouldn't show up in my email box, but I want to see if it's copied to anybody else. Is there a big group? Do I know anyone else in the group? Does it make sense why I was included? Is the email an unusual mix of people? For example, everyone from the library whose first name starts with M. Why would someone be sending an email with that? Those are ones that I want to slow down, investigate, not in that email, but with phone calls or other communications, or just plain delete. I want to check the subject line. Does it match the content? Is it a message that's a reply to something I never requested? I get an email from Amazon about the thing I just ordered. There's a problem. And I stop and think, when was the last time I ordered from Amazon? I think it was a couple months ago, and actually the thing showed up the next day. So why are they sending me an email now? That RE in the subject line with a reply to something that doesn't exist. It's a very, very common phishing expedition. They're trying to get you to click on links and download stuff on your computer you don't want. So we want to check the date and time. Business email sent in the middle of the night, unless you know your coworker's a night owl, always a bad sign. And checking the content, the spelling, the grammar. Is the email out of ordinary? Is it odd or illogical? Am I asked to click on links or attachments to gain something of value or avoid negative consequences? This is all red flags. And those attachments. So an attachment is one of those files that are included in with an email. You click on it to open it, to look at the file. They can carry a lot of malware. And malware is just any software program that's designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access to your system. So if there is an attachment and the purpose of the attachment is not clear, you don't know why it's there. I wasn't expecting this sender to send an attachment. I don't want to click on it. Now, I'm a member of several organizations that send newsletters by email, and they come in attachment. So if my newsletter editor sends an email every month, and it's from her, and it's attachment, and all the wording's always the same, I go, it's probably okay. Then I'm going to click on that attachment, open up the newsletter, and I'll be fine. But if that newsletter and editor sends me something bizarre that doesn't make sense, I am going to pick up the phone and call her and say, what is this, before I open it. The other thing I'm going to look for is to see if the attachment is a dangerous file type. So there are certain types of computer files that are more prone to carry malware than others. So the first is .exe. Those are executable files. Those always do something to your computer. So if you are expecting to download a file that's going to do something to your computer, and you know what it is, and you're pretty confident you're in the right place, then hitting an executable file is probably fine. If it's an attachment in an email and you don't know why it's there, don't click. Other problem extensions, so these are the dot and then 2, 3, or 4 letters that appear at the end of the file name. .bat, .cmd are batch files. Zip are compressed files. These are really big files. Who knows what's going to be stuffed in there? JavaScript, Visual Basic, screensavers, especially the ones you download from the internet. They are very susceptible to be invaded by malware. So you do want to be very careful with those and know exactly what you're getting and know that it's coming from a legitimate source. Otherwise, do not click. Microsoft Office files, those .doc, .xls, .pub, the same kind of things that newsletters come in. Also Adobe Acrobat files, .pdf. They can be fine. They can also be carriers of malware. So if you know where it's coming from, that's one thing. If you don't know where it's coming from, don't click until you investigate. Because if you do click and get some malware, this is the kind of thing that you can get. You get this lovely pop-up that says, your computer may have a virus, with some helpful information about what to do, a phone number to call, toll-free very kindly, and warnings about possible network damages, your credit card, your accounts, your email passwords, all of that's at risk. So big scary pop-up. This is a scam. It's called the tech support scam. Actually, that phone number, it might even be that same call number, go to that same call center or one very like it that had that customer support that was supposedly Yahoo. Very nice people, very insistent people who persuade you for just a mere $50 to download more programs on your computer so you'll get more pop-ups. And you've paid for the privilege. So if something like this pops up, I do not call the phone number. That's absolute no-no. But then the next thing I want to do is I want to close out that browser, hit that X up in the upper right-hand corner. And if it doesn't close, I'm going to completely shut down my computer. Hit the off button, leave my thumb on the off button until it completely shuts down and leave it off at least 20 seconds. Then I'm going to bring it back up again, pull up my antivirus program, and let that antivirus program do its thing because I got a problem. So another pop-up that is problematic. It's also a sign that you may have malware that you want to see if you can try and get rid of. Some program needs an update. You're just minding your own business, working along, and this screen pops up. You need to update Flash. You need to update Java. Who knows what? So we talked before that software updates are good. Software updates where you don't know where they're coming from may not be real updates. So I have this pop-up that has triggered a fear reaction that I might have a problem on my computer. It might be that Flash is out of date. The first thing I want to do is see if my Flash is out of date. And if it is, get the new software. But I don't do that by clicking on OK. What I do is go, okay, who owns Flash? Oh, let me take a look, Google it. Oh, it's Adobe Acrobat. Okay, go to Adobe Acrobat's page, go to their downloads page, find Flash on the list, and then it'll actually scan right there and say if my software needs updating or if it's up to date. So if it needs updating, I will download the updates from the Adobe Acrobat page, not from a pop-up. So even if you think that pop-up might be legitimate, you still don't want to click on it just to be safe. Because the biggest risk for your computer, this is it, ransomware, where all of a sudden you get a pop-up that says, your files are encrypted. We are a bad actor. We have taken over your computer, we've locked up all your files, and you cannot get them until you pay us money. And we don't want cash. We want you to figure out how to go buy Bitcoin and give us $200 in Bitcoin because then nobody can trace it. And by the way, we've got a clock left. You have 72 hours. Actually, now it's 71 hours, 52 minutes, and 30 seconds. The clock is ticking. So this is like really bad. And what makes it ransomware even more problematic is they've really kind of given up on individuals. Still happens every once in a while where some individual will get a hit for $200 or $300. Where they are attacking is the big systems. They're attacking corporations, hospitals, healthcare systems, governments, your local cities, states. They are trying to hit the big players who have money. And right now, it's prime time. There's all these people who are working at home. They are working on usually employer-provided equipment or their own equipment, might not be as secure as the employer, and they're under a lot of stress. There's a lot of distractions. They don't slow down enough. There's a real risk of downloading malware, and all of a sudden, not just your computer is infected, your whole employer's computer is infected. Not good. So we want to slow down, be careful, take the extra step to make sure that we are keeping our computer fortress safe. Our biggest risks to our computer are actually attachments, which we talked about, and downloading. So with attachments, it's simple. You don't open it unless you expect it, and when in doubt, call the person. Downloading, sometimes it's something you want to download. Okay, I am stuck in my house. I can't go out and see my friends. I can't meet with my coworkers. Everyone's talking about this program, Zoom. Download Zoom, and then we can communicate face-to-face over the computer. Well, computer to computer. One of the things you want to keep in mind with all your downloads is that software is a consumer product. And so we don't want to just go out and download any old thing. We want to download our programs from a trusted source. I want to do my homework before I download. I want to make sure Zoom is a legitimate program. There's websites out there that let me do my homework. CNET, Wired, PC Magazine, Macworld, there's a whole bunch of them. In the App Store, if I download it from the App Store, there's a review section of the different app stores. There's comment sections. So I can take a look and see what other people are saying about this consumer product, which happens to be software. So I always want to download my programs from a trusted source, whether it's from the web page of the company, Adobe Acrobat, Apple, Microsoft, Chrome, or from one of the app stores. I want to read the third-party reviews of the software. If I'm going out on the internet and I see this click here to download and they're saying that this will make this web page work better, I'm going to be highly suspicious. I do not want to download and install a program just because some website says I need to use it to view some type of content. That's usually very high risk. I want to go to a reputable source. I want to look for a license, those annoying, obnoxious user agreements that go on and on in legalese that I say I have to click to accept. If there's no user agreement, right there it's suspicious because a real legitimate software company wants to protect their legal backside. So if I am downloading something, I want to go looking for it. So there's 3 rules for staying safe online. They're known as Krebs rules for staying safe online. If I didn't go looking for it, don't install it. If I installed it, update it. So we talked about software updates. Everything I install, I want to make sure that I get the updates. Otherwise, I'm creating holes in my computer fortress that the bad guys can get in. If I no longer need it, get rid of it and uninstall it. And so the biggest risk for downloads, I have on the screen, no pirated copies in all capitals. Those, the pirated music, movies, software programs, oh, I can get Microsoft Office for free. This is the legitimate, not open office, it's the real thing. Usually it's got a lot of malware in it. If it's pirated, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So browser extensions and website plugins, they are software programs. So the same rules apply. So what a browser extension is, if you've not used one before, it's a cool little program that helps you do a lot of cool things. So there's a little browser extension called SurfSafe that scans images in new sites to see where that picture first appeared, to see if maybe someone took that picture out of context. It's real good for spotting fake news. If you choose to download it, keep in mind that every extension and plugin that you download is not only adding another program on your computer, it's adding a program to your web browser. And anytime you do that, it's giving that program a huge level of access to data because it sees every keystroke you strike. And they can capture passwords where you browse. They can insert advertisements on web pages you visit. So you don't want to, again, like any software, you want to do your homework, do your due diligence. So who's the company that made this? Do they have a track record of protecting client information? Is it really worth my time? And even reputable companies, they can be hijacked or they can be sold. So when I'm uploading a program or downloading a program onto my computer, I'm making a commitment that I am going to keep up to date on that program. And that way I can keep my Fortress computer safe. So if it is a browser extension for Chrome, they do have ratings based on those permissions, whether it's a low alert, medium alert, high alert. You can use that if it's a Chrome extension. I'd also do my homework. So, best practices. Social media. Okay. Skip the quiz, please. So, quizzes are very fun. They're very popular. This one is, what does your dog's breed say about you? Well, if you think about the history of quizzes, they popped up really big in 2016, and then they kind of went away because people found out there was various companies, including one called Cambridge Analytica, that were using these quizzes to harvest data. They were harvesting data about you, about your contacts, all kinds of information from your computer. And those quizzes, they disappeared. They weren't around 2018. I didn't see many 2019, 2019, the tail end of 2019, they started to come back. So, and now they're back full bore, quizzes galore. They have a little more security than they used to. You can check the permissions on them to actually read what kind of data that you are sharing, but they still share a whole lot of data. So if I'm on Facebook, I have a lot of things that are pushed at me all the time. So I want to be choosy about what I click on. Because impersonation is really a big deal on social media. So when I'm friending someone on social media, when I'm viewing things on social media, I want to know who it's from. I want them to be real people. I want to know that this person is really reliable and checks her sources. I want to know that this person, I love her dearly, but she pushes a whole lot of conspiracy theories. I want to know that reliability of the individuals. I don't want to click randomly on strangers to friend. They might not even be real people. And then there's the infamous impersonation scan where someone suddenly you are friends with someone and then you get another friend request from them. Don't click on those because those are usually impersonations, and if you fall for it, change your password immediately. So Facebook is actually, as bad as Facebook is, LinkedIn is worse because they are encouraging you to friend strangers. Just be very careful. Social media is where you want to slow down and look around. And if you have any questions, if something is a con, there's old friend Google. So I got this email from a Nigerian prince that seems kind of odd. Is it a scam? So I could copy some of the text from this Nigerian prince and paste it into Google and see what comes up. A lot of these scams are done over and over and over again. And there's a lot of information about them if you take the time to look. So in the 21st century, we are living a lot online. We are living a lot online, particularly in these days when a lot of us are working from home. Please be safe, surf safely, keep your computer safe. And if you have any questions, please either email us at questions@Hedberg Public Library or give us a call at 608-758-6600. The library is closed to the public, but staff are responding to messages from home. So if you call, leave a message, we will call you back from a cell phone, and it'll be a different number, but we'll call you back and see if we can find the answer to your question. Or you can email us again at questions@hedbergpubliclibrary.org. Safe surfing.